It is the BKBK podcast once again, and I'm your host, Brandon Phillips. This is a show where sports and the culture collide and the New York Jets reign supreme. I am also joined by my co-host, Brian Taylor, and Captain Kyle McKenna. Our BKBK brother, Kerry Taylor, couldn't make it in today, and boy, is he going to miss a good one. For our show today, the BKBK podcast is officially announcing that it's Robert Saleh Day.
Yeah.
All right?
That's right.
Yes, sir. We want to give the brand new New York Jets head coach a thorough endorsement and full support. Unless you go Adam Gase on us. We're not going to tolerate any of that.
Nah, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, so all right, bet. So stay true to form, all right? Because we're supporting you. For all of you, we're all from Long Island. For all of you people that are from Long Island and happen to be fans of the show and are watching, and listen, we love everybody. I hope you watch it from Texas, from Cali, from Wyoming. I don't care. Like, just come on and join and watch us unpack things regarding the New York Jets and all, New York sports and everything. I know that we have a lot of transplants just all over the place, Colorado, just everywhere. But if you happen to know Long Island, you would agree with us when we say that Robert Saleh, the new head coach of the New York Jets, looks like he was born and raised in Long Island. Hands down. All right? Brian, throw it up there.
It's already
This
up.
is what a Long Island guy that we grew up around looks like. We'll go to the bagel store together, like at fourth period when you have off, you get the sausage, egg, and cheese on a bagel with salt, pepper, ketchup, right? And you're hanging out with them.
Right. You turn around and you see this guy.
Yeah, you see this guy.
you definitely go get a lift at some point, whether it's in somebody's garage or it's in an actual gym. But the dude looks like he lifts a little bit. I think that my wife described him affectionately like the Jersey Shore, like a gorilla juice head.
Hey, that's my coach. Listen, that's my coach. Don't talk about him like that. That's my coach.
Well, she said it in a very affectionate way. That's what Snooki likes on Jersey Shore is the gorilla juice heads. But
you know what? He's definitely more Long Island than he is Jersey. You know what I mean? He looks like he's from Oceanside, right? Like all of us here, we're from Baldwin, so we know what an Oceanside dude looks like. He could even be from like Long. What'd you say?
He looks like this guy. I just put it back.
He looks like this guy. He could be from Long Beach, right? Maybe Long Beach.
Yeah.
I think more so Oceanside.
Could he be like an East Meadow Jet?
He looks like he played football with Jay Fiedler at some point, even though Jay Fiedler's a lot older than him. He's only 41, Saleh. So
wow,
a little younger than us.
Right.
Would have been running around at Oceanside Pool while we were teenagers. You know what I'm saying? Like an 8-year-old or something.
Right. Oh man, and then you might see him like pop up at like the Freeport Rec. Because the Oceanside Pool is going through maintenance, so you'll see him at the Freeport Rec.
He felt like ice skating. He felt like ice skating in the winter, so took the trip over to Freeport.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I don't know. He looks like he could be from like Mineola or like Herrick's as well. A little bit more north. Northwest.
Definitely.
Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway.
Listen, let's shout out to Long Island. BKBK, we represent our people in Long Island. We love it. Go Baldwin Bruins, all right? He doesn't look like a Bruin, though.
No.
Could he be from Pequot? From Massapequa?
Oh, yeah. Definitely could be from Pequot. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I don't know about 90s Pequot, but
yeah.
All right.
Well, anyway, let's get down to what's important.
Yeah, let's get down to it. So, all right. So
that Brian was right and Brandon was wrong. So that's what's important.
Brandon was wrong. Whoa.
I think
never went against what you were saying.
There was
had
an
a ranking
that had him lower than 2 on their list, right?
Yeah, I had him lower than 2 on my list, but I respected it. But Brian had him. Where'd you have him, Brian? Number 1?
Numero uno, dude.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
I had him 2 behind Dable.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I think I had Dable then Bieniemy, or is it Bieniemy? I think I had Bieniemy then Dable, and then Arthur Smith. But I think he made my top 5, Salah. But as I started to learn more and more about him, he really started growing on me. And I just, like I said before, the number one quality or that I wanted was a leader of men. Like, that's why I wanted John Harbaugh so bad. Remember a few years ago, I really wanted Harbaugh, like, really, really bad. I mean, like, he's a special teams coach, but he's a leader of men.
Yeah.
And look what he did, you know?
Yeah.
Great coach. And that's what I was looking for. So I don't care that we're hiring another defensive-oriented head coach. I don't care. If you can lead men, that means you can lead the men in your staff and also lead the players. And that's what I'm looking for. And speaking of leading the men in the staff, I know that he's going to be bringing on Mike LaFleur as his offensive coordinator. So you guys want to talk a little bit more about him and who he's related to and all that stuff?
Let's back up the truck a little bit. You know, we spent a lot of time talking about where he was from in Long Island. But you know, he's
really from Michigan, though. He's really from Michigan.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely from Michigan. A minority hire, right? So let's not lose sight of that. And
he's of Lebanese descent.
Yep.
And he's the first Muslim head coach in the NFL.
He's the second Lebanese Jets head coach, I found out.
Really?
So did I.
This will blow your mind that Rich Kotite is also Lebanese.
Really?
And I know a lot of people have tried to forget Rich Kotite that he was the coach of the Jets. But I was surprised by that. But the culture of Lebanon is very diverse, and there are as many Christians at one point in Lebanon as there were Arabs and Muslims. So you actually, Rich Kotite being I believe a Christian Lebanese descent, and Robert Saleh, like you said, is the first Muslim head coach in the NFL.
Yeah,
correct. Yeah,
and you know what? Not everybody, just like Brandon, he wasn't necessarily on the number one of everybody's list, but as soon as it seemed as though he was the top of the Jets list, Jets Nation was like, we really want this guy, right? And for all the reasons that we kind of discussed, and Brandon, that you mentioned earlier, is that he's a leader of men. He's a great teacher, right? Which is important not only for the players, but also for the other coaches on the staff. You know, his ability to be able to put a staff together, like you mentioned, with Mike LaFleur kind of coming on board. But his defenses, you know, obviously the one that went to the Super Bowl, which was number 2 in the league, but also what he did last year or this year in 2020, it was rough. They lost a lot of players on that defense, a lot of stars. Bosa.
They played us.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when they played us. That was the second or third game of the season for them, right?
Yeah, I think we lost like 2 or 3 starters. One of them being Bosa.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, and a lot of teams couldn't recover for that, but they ended up 5th in the league in defense.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. So when you think of the ability to pivot and to coach up, you know, the second string or the third string to be able to really play above their heads. And one player's opinion that I really respect, because not everybody's, right? I mean, Peyton Manning, I mean, what did that do for us with Gase, right? But Richard Sherman, somebody that is not effusive of praise to a lot of people, and I feel is one of the smartest players I've ever seen come through the NFL, right? Effusive of praise on this individual, and he saw him every day, right? It's not like he played for him forever, but played for him for the past year. Did he play? No, not the year before, but this year, obviously, and saw him up close and personal throughout all of this, and gave him that praise.
So to add to that, Brian, not to get you off your streak here, but the Robert Saleh was part of the Legion of Boom assistant coaching staff.
Yeah.
So
that's right, he was.
Richard Sherman in Seattle.
It doesn't lessen your point one bit either, though.
No, it makes it
no
even better.
strengthens it because now we saw him more years, right? He worked with him for
You also
more
saw him
time.
evolve.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And here's another thing. So I agree with you 100%. I love Richard Sherman. The only time I didn't love him was when he was going back and forth with Darrell Revis, who I love.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Yeah. But love and respect him. Brilliant guy. So here's the thing. What was San Francisco's record this past year? 6-10?
Something like that. No,
I believe it was 6-10. All right, thank you, B. So why are you looking it up?
Two playoff teams in the division and four good offenses, or three, other than them. The Rams, the Seahawks, and the Cardinals.
Here's the thing. If you're 6-10, right? You're going to hear malcontent whispers, okay? We're not hearing that from the offense or the defensive players or the other coaching staff about Robert Saleh. You're not hearing any of that. No whispers of the sort. Also, you're 6-10. You put out a top 5 defense out there, okay? And then, you're not just hearing it from defensive players. Dan Orlovsky, I read, he had nothing. He thinks this is actually a blessing for the Jets. He was just saying this is like the best coaching move as far as the decision that the Jets organization made that they could have made, period. And not only is he a great coach, but they say that this guy is a culture changer.
Exactly.
And in the interview, from what I heard, Robert Saleh never met or has ever spoken to Joe Douglas.
Yep.
All right. Neither one of them has ever conversed ever. They come together for this meeting and they blow each other away. Okay. They connect. There's this immediate connection. And then when Saleh walks away from the meeting, I think he's talking to an associate. I don't want to say it's his agent, but some associate. And I hear that he was saying, I really want this Jets job. I really want this Jets job. And then he was leaving to go to another interview, but he just thought that he fit so well with the philosophy, or at least the new philosophy, hopefully, and what the Jets have communicated to him, and then the connection that he had with the organization, So here's a good thing. Say what you want about, the ineptness of the Jets ownership. But what I do like is that they're not afraid. If you go back into the history, they hired this is going to be their third minority coach they've hired during, the new
Johnson.
century. Woody Johnson. So we have Herm Edwards. We have
Todd Bowles.
Yeah, Todd Bowles. And now we have Robert Saleh. So I have to, give them props where props are due. You know what I'm saying? Not too many organizations have that, in like, even in 20 years, sad to say. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But, so I'll give them props. And so I'm just happy with the Jets all the way around, at least right now. And I've had so many unhappy moments. You got to let me sit and stew in this happiness right here for a little bit.
Simmer, you know what I mean? Saute a little bit.
Saute, marinade.
Yeah, I don't want to see you saute. Matter of fact, let me take that back. Let me take that back.
I think that when you look at this hire, in two big ways, it's good. And if either one of them were the reason why, then it would still be a really good hire. So first of all, if you just made this as a culture hire, if you said we want to bring in somebody who's going to change culture and is going to hire well at the 2 coordinator spots and be a CEO type coach, then this is a knock them out the park type of hire in that regard. But in addition to that, you have also hired a really, really smart cerebral defensive coach that has a track record and has a tree that talks to success, even when success comes with lesser talent, perhaps in the spots. So, a lot of people are saying that this is the best coaching job he's ever done with this 5th-ranked defense that San Francisco had this year, based on that. And we've seen that The last head coach that we had was not somebody that made that made chicken salad out of chicken what, but the person that we have coming in has a track record of taking what he has and making the best of it. That's not to say that we don't need a roster overhaul in a lot of ways,
Sure,
and an infusion of young talent. But I think that he's going to have an eye with Joe Douglas for the right people to fit what he wants to do. And let's face it, the guys that he is bringing in and confirmed that I've seen so far, Mike LaFleur, brother of Matt LaFleur, head coach of Green Bay, who's done a great job there. The LaFleurs, Sean McVay, Shanahan, and Saleh they're like a friend group. So you got a lot of knowledge coming there. So I expect our offense to be somewhere in between the Shanahan and the McVay style of offense. The other hire that I heard confirmed today was Miles Austin as a wide receivers coach.
Mm-hmm.
And whereas I like that hire, I hope that there is some consideration to Hines Ward sticking around and Sean Jefferson in some way, shape, or form. It doesn't sound like both of them will stick around, but Hines Ward was the assistant and Sean Jefferson was the head wide receivers coach. I would like to see some consideration with that, but the Miles Austin, that's a guy that came out of Monmouth and made an NFL career for himself. That's an interesting hire as well.
He led the league in receiving one year, and I think he made 2 Pro Bowls. The guy has produced. I just remember him because I had him in fantasy. The thing that held him back, he was always pulling his hamstrings. He had like bad hamstrings, but he was definitely a player, and I like Miles Austin a lot.
You know what? I'll give props here. Ownership of the Jets this time around, right? You slam them when you feel like what they do is incorrect, or they're going down the wrong path. This time, they gave Joe Douglas the keys to this process, right?
Yeah.
Didn't seem like Chris Johnson was involved until we had a finalist, and then they were able to meet for the second interview face to face and all of that. And before, when we were talking about hiring Gase, it was about one player. It was about Sam Darnold. That's exactly why we hired Gase. Incorrectly, right? Because he did nothing for him. He actually regressed. But we chose a head coach because he had to be offensive minded and had to put Darnold in a position to succeed. Now we were hiring somebody for the entire team, which in retrospect, of course, makes sense, right? It's a no brainer. But back then we didn't object to it. We're like, oh yeah, we got to get Darnold on the right track. Okay, now it's like that was stupid. So I think, learning from their mistakes in that regard, I'll give them props, for kind of getting out the way. And then also from a coordinator perspective too. They didn't push any coordinators like they did last time. Greg Williams had to be hired as defensive coordinator. That wasn't part of the discussion. You bring in your folks. What is your plan? And the plan obviously was above competency. And, Joe Douglas was on board with that and everybody else was. And here we are. We haven't played it down to football yet, but we're feeling really good about the pairing, Joe Douglas as well as Robert Saleh. And, oh, by the way, he has a 5-year deal, which aligns with the expiration of Joe Douglas's deal. So these guys are tied to the hip. I love it.
That's fine. Brian, well said. And I love that. And it was smart to do that. So now let's Batman and Robin this thing to death. That's basically what they're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. And let's go, Teamwork makes that dream work, and I'm ready. So I really hope that they make good decisions. One of the decisions will be a change for us, and that change will be because we've seen many years, no matter who's come in and coached this team, we stayed in that 3-4 defense for a long time now.
Yep.
And I think it's been since even before Rex came, or maybe when he came, but a 3-4 defense predominantly. But now we're going to be switching over to a 4-3 that I don't remember seeing, I think, since maybe Herm Edwards.
I don't think we've had a 4-3 defense since Herm Edwards.
Yeah.
Mangini was a version of New England's 3-4, and it's been like that since. So, like we talked about last time, the difference in the front 4 versus the front 3 or front five in a 3-4 is it's body type, it's player type.
And Kyle, if I can just stop you there and I'll let you carry on. That is what ran one of my favorite Jets. Not ran, but they pushed him out of town because we switched from a 4-3 to a 3-4. One of my favorite Jets, who was picked 12th in the draft under Herm Edwards. It was Jonathan Vilma.
Yeah.
And he made a Pro Bowl with us. He was a great middle linebacker in a 4-3. And then when we switched things up with the new coach and went to the 3-4, you know, you had a guy who was 6'1", 230 pounds, who had to take on 320-pound offensive guards all the time at every snap. So then they pushed him out, and because it was a new system, but he ended up winning a ring, you know, in New Orleans, playing in a great 4-3 system. But go ahead, Kyle. I just had to say that.
Well, no, I think it's worth discussing. So, you know, when you look at the evolution of the 4-3 as a popular defensive front, you know, going back to after we were playing high school football, because we played in a 50 front, which is a version of the 3-4. Brandon, you played nose in that alignment, and I played an inside linebacker. Tehran and I were over guard inside linebackers, a Will and a Sam. I went on to college to play that linebacker position in a 3-4, and then the next year after that, our defense switched to a 4-3, and a lot of people were mimicking what the University of Miami was doing, which is where Vilma went to school. Ray Lewis went to school. You know, that middle linebacker in that 4-3 is a different type of linebacker than those two inside linebackers, which brings to mind the fact that C.J. Mosley is a 3-4 inside linebacker. He was a 3-4 inside linebacker at Alabama, and he was a 3-4 inside linebacker in Baltimore and with the Jets. So that's you know, there's a question as to whether maybe that's a viable move of getting something in a trade for C.J. Mosley rather than bringing him in and trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. That's maybe a question for another day. But you're right. These conversions from the 3-4s to the 4-3s are sometimes awkward conversions, and they sometimes send good players packing because they don't fit scheme. But a lot of people in recent years have tried to adapt 4-3s to fit personnel rather than shipping out personnel to adapt that way.
I have a quick question for you, Kyle, because I honestly don't know the answer to this, right? Is it easier to fit, if you fit as a 3-4 middle linebacker, is it easier, or do you feel like you have more proficiency to then be a middle linebacker as a 4-3? So if you're a 3-4 and you're a middle linebacker and you have the chops to be able to do that, do you feel like it's easier to now have the chops to go to a 4-3 and be a middle backer as opposed to the other way around? Do you understand my question?
It's a really good question. So I'll take it back to my experience in college. When we went, I was an inside linebacker in a 3-4 at 227 pounds, and in 6 foot. In that conversion to the middle to that 4-3, that middle linebacker became a 250-pound guy. He's a bigger guy that plays inside of the box and not as much side. Like when you're an inside linebacker in a 3-4, you are from your side out, or you're filling from the backside. Mm-hmm. So when you're the middle linebacker, you're an A gap to A gap and then in the box. And I'm not an expert on this, but this is what I know from having been a linebacker. But I think that you're more of a thumper when you're in that role. So I guess to answer your question, C.J. Mosley could be a middle linebacker, but at the same time, is his skill? Will he have to learn a new skill set? Based as far as like calls and things like that. Mm-hmm. There's a learning curve there. I know, like when we switched our defense, a lot of guys that played 3-4 linebackers became DNs.
Yeah.
Like hand in the ground DNs.
Right.
And they were faster. They were like a faster version of the 3-4 DN. And then the guy that we had play middle linebacker was a strong safety that bulked up and moved down to middle linebacker. So yeah, it's a different position. It's definitely a different position, and I think that somebody like C.J. Mosley, you're gonna have to look at really closely for that, especially because he hasn't played football in 2 years. Jordan Jenkins, I don't know if there's a place for Jordan Jenkins in this defense if it's a true 4-3.
I think the closest thing that he could play in that defense is putting his hand in the dirt and being a defensive end. And I'm ready to move on from Jordan Jenkins.
Yeah, I don't think he's big enough. What about Zuniga? Right? Do you think
in the dirt D end?
What do you think he'd flourish? Yeah, definitely that. But do you think he'd flourish maybe better in the 4-3 than the 3-4, being 6'3" and 264?
Yes, I do.
I agree.
I haven't seen enough of him to know.
I think he has more opportunity to flourish with his body type and with his skill set.
Right.
Will he flourish? I don't know. And just to expand off of the 4-3 philosophy, I think, and I'm a lineman, defensive lineman at heart, and the thing that really activates a 4-3 defense are your two interior tackles, your nose tackle and your 3 technique tackle. The nose tackle is the one that takes up the 2 gaps, the both A gaps, or he's really a 2-gap responsibility guy. He's the one that's really kind of taking on the blockers so that the middle linebacker can more so run free. And then the 3 technique is really just responsible for the most part, air quotes, 1 gap and causing that disruption. That's your Aaron Donald. That's your Warren Sapp. That's going to be our Quentin Williams. Back in the day, that's our Joe Klecko. When we played the 4-3, that was our Dennis Byrd, one of my favorite Jets ever. Before they moved him out to end, he was playing on the interior. And I remember the year that he had 13 sacks as a 3 technique defensive tackle and still didn't make the Pro Bowl because everyone was hating on the Jets. So, John Randall, so it's those types of guys that cause that disruption that basically allow that 3-4 to kind of spread out and flourish. And once you have that, and then you add a quality defensive end, we could bring it back to the Jets again. You have Klecko, and then you have a Gastineau. Oh my goodness. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous. So,
you didn't have as much when Klecko played, you didn't have as much 4-3 types of defenses. Like the modern day 4-3, like the Tampa 2 4-3, Tony Dungy defense. Yeah. You didn't really have that as much when Klecko was playing. But but you're absolutely right. Quentin Williams is going to be a sensational 3 technique.
Yeah.
And you don't need to have that Steve McClendon, Vince Wilfork type nose guard to line up straight up on the center and play 2 gaps. Mm-hmm. To like be A gap to A gap just as a nose guard. And Fatukasi can play that shade nose, which you usually like in a shade 1 technique. I don't want to get too inside football with the techniques here, but it's more like a not head up on the nose, but a little off
on the tip
side eye of the guard. That's that, and he could be the Klecko, Fatukasi, and
exactly. And those other players that you just mentioned, Foley, Fatukasi, he's more athletic than those 2 guys that you mentioned anyway.
Mm-hmm.
He's continues to trend up, and I think he's going into year 4 or year 3.
I think it's year 3.
I think so too.
He's going to be an outstanding player for us. We could re-sign Leonard Williams too, whereas Leonard Williams could play on that interior for us also, or on the outside.
On the outside.
I would want him just on the outside, and then you have Zuniga at the other one. Get rid of Henry Anderson. Thank you very much, Henry. But
Henry Anderson, the 3-4 guy. That's exactly the reason why they got him out of Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Not
because he was a bad player, but because he was not a scheme.
Was a scheme fit. Yeah. But yeah, I'd re-sign Leonard Williams in a heartbeat. Let's do it.
So rolling this back to Saleh and what we were talking about as far as staffing and things like that. There's a lot that remains to be seen as far as who the whole staff is going to be. I hope that they retain Brant Boyer, one of the best special teams coaches in the league. This would be his third staff if that was the case. He was on Bowles' staff too. So, when you're good, don't, keep him. Don't get rid of him. But he might have some lucrative other offers too. Who knows? But the future looks bright when it comes to what we have coming in, and this might be the most optimistic that that I've been in a really long time, based on the foundation that we're setting. It's not going to be built overnight, but at the same time, if you have two guys that I respect as much as Saleh and Joe Douglas right now working together in lockstep, Batman and Robin, like you said, then I think like the sky is the limit on this. We are in the best division in the AFC. The New England will not be down long. Buffalo is really good, and Miami just missed the playoffs. So we're always going to have our work cut out for us in this division. So it's good that we've upgraded.
Absolutely. And you know what, guys, we're about to move on, but I'm going to let you know what we just covered. We just covered Saleh, who we're happy to have, and we fully endorse. We talked about the 4-3 defense, the fact that he's bringing over a new mentality to the Jets, the high endorsements from other players that he's coached and other staff and coaches and former players, and also bringing in the mentality of, you were saying, Mike Shanahan mentality and philosophy, as well as a McVay, and also bringing in LaFleur, and his offensive mentality as well. So it just seems like everything that's coming over seems to be good, So I just want the whole Jets world out there to give him a fair chance. We're going to have our little ups and downs, but I'm envisioning way more ups than we are downs. Let's have some patience. And I hope that we'll have patience for this next question that I'm going to ask my co-host as well as my fellow Jet fans out there. I have no
patience for it. But
I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it off the tablet right now. All right, listen. One of the biggest decisions that will be made by Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh is Sam Darnold. Will anyone here lose faith in our GM and new head coach if they make the decision to keep Sam Darnold?
Well, let me go, right? Because I think I'm probably the one that's the most on the outside in this conversation. I've been critical of Sam Darnold, saying that he was part of the reason why we didn't do well the last couple of years. I'm just going to throw one stat out before I even continue. So, as per Pro Football Focus, from a clean pocket, right? So that means the offensive line has done their job, right? Darnold ranked 30th in the NFL in pass accuracy at 56%.
Who was 31 and 32?
Doesn't mention it, but let's mention who was above him. Drew Lock at 60. Gardner Minshew, 59, I think. Nick Mullins. Ew. Whatever that number was, right? Come on. What are we talking about here, right? Of course, we're talking about weapons and we're talking about offensive line, but this is probably the most damning stat that you could put in front of somebody. That when everybody has done their job, he is inaccurate. Can't throw the ball accurately to the wide receivers. So how could the wide receivers be considered weapons if they can't get the ball from the only guy that can get it to them? Let me
because we had terrible wide receivers except for like two who couldn't create separation.
If it's in that B, that has nothing to do with it. B has nothing to do with it. Inaccuracy has nothing to do with separation. I didn't mention separation anywhere here, right? Can you get it to my hand? My hand's here. And let me throw it in. My hand's here. Are you gonna throw the ball here? Or are you gonna throw it, at my knees? Are you gonna throw it in the dirt? Or where you got to put it in a place where I can catch the ball in order for us to continue to move the sticks, score touchdowns. This didn't even touch upon interceptions, right? In the red zone and all that other stuff, and we could talk through that too. But I'd say this. If they end up keeping Sam Darnold, am I going to go over the edge? No. I feel like at this point in time, in Douglas and in Saleh, I trust. And I'm going to trust wholeheartedly until they give me a reason not to. But what I would say is that we absolutely have to draft a quarterback high in this draft. Just is what it is. Even if you keep Darnold. Let's say you bring in Zach Wilson and you want to keep Darnold. You want him to fight it out. I think I had mentioned that in the past, even when we were talking about Trevor Lawrence. Why not see who ends up winning the position? And if Sam Darnold wins it, great. We have a trade piece potentially in Zach Wilson. But you're running out of time here because you got to pay this man. Either you're going to
by May. You got to make that decision by May.
And for me, I'm turning it down. Even if you keep him, you turn it down. The 5th-year option, it's probably about $24 million. And then you say, listen, year 4, if he does this thing, you can use the franchise tag for year 5. But you're not committing it up front before you've seen the production. And that's kind of where I'm at.
What's the difference on that bet? All right. So let's say you sign them for the option or you sign them to the franchise tag. And I know that you buy yourself some time playing roulette with the franchise tag. But what isn't it going to cost upwards of $40+ million to sign him to a franchise tag?
Franchise,
franchise,
but 5th option about 24 to 25 million. But the franchise tag, I believe it's the average of the top 5. So right now it's going to be in the upper 30s, low 40s.
So you're saying that. So what we're saying here is you're making a bet with $15 million in dead cap money.
Sure.
Which I agree with Brian. I'm willing to make that bet. And my thought process with this, and going back to the original question, I'm not going to lose faith in these two if they keep Darnold, because you need to have a competent starting quarterback on day 1 when you play the first NFL game of 2021. You need to be able to put somebody out there that can start the game for you and can play at a high level. How high a level is going to be the question. And personally, I am not as convinced as everybody else right now with my evaluation of Zach Wilson or Justin Fields, that they would be plug and play day 1 starters at a high level on our football club. So with that reservation, I say to myself, if you're going to pick one of those guys high, you're going to need to hedge that bet a little bit with somebody, whether it be Joe Flacco, whether it be a free agent veteran quarterback that you bring in on a show me deal or whatever, or it be Sam Darnold. There's got to be somebody else there. Like Trevor Lawrence, you draft Trevor Lawrence, he starts day 1 for you. That's what his track record has proved.
Yep.
With that said, I personally right now, and this could change, I like Mac Jones later on in the first 20 picks, more so than one of those other guys, Zach Wilson or Fields, especially at 2. I feel a little bit better about trading back, getting some juice for the pick, and then picking Zach Wilson at 6, 7, 8, 5, 6, 7, 8. I wouldn't feel as bad about that. But when it comes to the Darnold thing, I would like to give him that show me thing. Don't take the option, because the option says that cap money's coming off my cap no matter what.
Yep.
If you make the bet, and you got to pay him the franchise tag the year after that, that's only happening if good things happen to lead you to that. So, so I think you do that, and I didn't realize that was the case until you brought it up in the chat, Brian, a couple of days ago. That we could forego that option and franchise tag, and I think that would be probably the most prudent way to go. Either way, and then either move him before we play the 21 season, like in a trade or something like that. I think Pittsburgh's going to need a quarterback at the end of this year. They're either going to need to draft one or they're going to need to trade for somebody else's. Mm-hmm. I don't think Ben Roethlisberger.
There's definitely a number of teams that I could see Sam Darnold going to. Pittsburgh, like you said, Kyle, maybe even Chicago.
San Fran.
San Fran, yeah, potentially. And there's a couple others. I'm reading here that that they're reporting that let's see here, that both Saleh and LaFleur believe that Darnold has, quote, untapped potential. So listen, the smart thing to do is to talk him up. Why? Because we want to bring up his equity as far as, trade equity to potentially get something back. Also to build up his morale. We just get here as a coaching staff. Let's not, throw the kid under the bus. Let's build him up so that he will want to play for us in case we make that decision not to trade him. And then, just basically it's a smart move to just talk the kid up no matter which direction you go in. But I would do that. But all at the same time, for me personally, I would draft Zach out of BYU, Zach Wilson.
So here's what I see. I see think Jared Goff as an example. He was on the Rams, prior head coach. He looked like trash, right? Just didn't look like a good player. You bring in McVay, and he looks great. System puts him in positions to do well. They take it to the Super Bowl, right? Then you paid him in. What does he look like since then? And now, because you pay them in, now you have to dismantle some of the other pieces that you had because you can't afford to keep them all together. And now, salary cap wise, you can't afford to get rid of them because 60-something million dead money on the cap. So this is the dangerous game we're playing with somebody like a Sam Darnold, because even if, again, you have year 4, and if you franchise tag him, you got year 5. So you got 2 years in order to figure out, can you turn this person, this player, into what you need? Are you going to get consistency? That's the other piece of the puzzle. Because once you give them the money, if you don't see the consistency, then, it's just just going into a hole at that point in time. So,
well, there's a couple other things to consider here too. Like, first of all, we were talking about this the other day. Before the rookie salary cap, you would have been on the hook with Darnold for so much more money.
Yeah.
And it would have been such a more defeatist thing for us right now that if we swing and miss at a number 3 pick, like it's almost like devastating. Like, you got a much bigger hole to dig yourself out of.
Yep.
Whereas we're only having this conversation right now about 50-year options and things like that because the NFL made it a little easier for us to swing and miss. So that's something to be considered here too. The other thing to consider is that Saleh played against Darnold this year. So in the intense scrutiny that you do in scouting your opponent, you take a look at what you want to take away, what you think they're good at. And from when we're talking about one of the 32 head coaches in the NFL and what it takes for them to get there, even when we're talking about Adam Gase, I've defended him on this before too. You're talking about an upper level mind in football. That's one thing that you're not going to take away from anybody that reaches that plateau. They know what they're talking about and they know what they're doing. So Robert Saleh and staff definitely took Darnold apart and put him back together when they scouted him, and then got to see how what they did worked in that game, which was not a good game for Darnold or the Jets.
Actually, so his passer rate in that game was 90.5, one of the better games, third best game that he had in 2020. Now he threw for 170
touchdown to turnover.
1 touchdown to 0 turnovers. And his completion percentage was 66%. So, but he only threw for 179 yards, and that's pretty commonplace for him. He only went above 200 yards 4 times during the entire season. So
how many attempts throwing did he have versus completions?
32 and on 21.
Oh.
So he threw it a decent amount. It just didn't go very far in the air. Yards per attempt was 5.59. And so it just, again, the defense, if you recall, before we even got on offense, like they ran through us. And I think you threw a couple of examples of holding out there, Kyle, too. But they ran all over us. Our defense looked horrible during that game.
Monster ran all over us.
Yeah, we didn't have a lot of possessions either. So maybe they scouted him and they felt like he didn't look half bad during that particular game. So I just wanted to throw those stats out there.
Well, I mean, I think that even bolsters the point that they, I think they're going to take what he did against them even more into consideration than what he did against everybody else. So, because they were looking to do specific things to him. And I think they also totally shut down our run game. So there wasn't anything really to do in that game except pass. Le'Veon Bell was either not playing in that game or sucked. So, it was one of those two things because he really didn't do anything for the Jets this year at all. So,
Wait, Kyle, did you send Le'Veon Bell a Christmas card? I thought I heard that during a prior podcast.
I sent him an edible arrangement.
Ryan, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you have an example of a quarterback that didn't start his career out so well, but then kind of turned things around?
I mean, you could throw Tannehill in there, and obviously you have the comparisons to Adam Gase coaching both of these players. So that's what people are hopeful of. Jared Goff, I threw that out there as well. Different coaching staff.
I don't think Goff has turned it around, really, though. I don't think Goff has turned it around. He's just a game manager.
Listen. He didn't look salvageable. He didn't look competent, right? He didn't look confident. I mean, he didn't look any of those things. And then all of a sudden, McVay was there. Nobody could object to the fact that the offense looked great, but you had a supreme running game, right? Think about all the things that they're going to put around Sam Darnold right now. Very good running game. That's the Shanahan style. Zone blocking, all of those things. Running backs look crazy in that Shanahan system. Mostert, he was out the league until he came to San Fran. Then all of a sudden the dude is running all over the place, right? So they're going to put a competent running game in front of him. Douglas is going to put weapons around him. We got the cap space. We got all of those things. But can he be successful being that cog consistently, right? And that's where Jared Goff, to your point, for a year, they peaked. They look good. If they win the Super Bowl, you feel totally different about Goff right now because they got the ring. They didn't. And now you had to pay the guy. And now, right? So those are the things that kind of go into that. Outside of that, I can't think of another quarterback off the top of my head.
Well, to me, like Vinny Testaverde, when he was in Tampa, he was terrible. It was like.
Was he terrible though? I'm gonna look back at the stats. I think he was good. He probably made a couple of Pro Bowls at there. He just didn't have a team around him. But you can see the talent was always there.
About here in this instance because you're. I'm not trying to object to what you're saying, but I'm just coming to it from a different point. Like Goff, he had more weapons around him, and even before McVay got there, he still had more weapons around him. Sam Darnold has never had good weapons around him.
I disagree. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. I just put a stat out there that goes to the fact that he is part of the reasons why you feel like he doesn't have any weapons. If the wide receivers can't get the ball, they don't look like their weaponry, do they? Right?
He's one of the non-weapons.
Right. He's causing them to be non-weapons at the end of the day. If you put Patrick Mahomes, you put Deshaun Watson on this team, or you put whatever on this squad, do they then look like weapons? Does Deshaun Watson turn, who we have out there as weapons? Think about Joe Flacco.
I'm not putting him up in that category. I mean, like, he's not a Deshaun Watson or a Mahomes.
No,
he's not as good as them. You know what I'm saying? He's
Tannehill.
not
put Tannehill on the squad. Do they look like weapons? Do they look like competent wide receivers at the end of the day? When Flacco was out there, we looked like we had weapons.
He went to a squad that had better weapons than when he was in Miami.
Well, think about it this way. When Flacco was out there, same squad. When Flacco was out there, did it look like he had weapons? Did the wide receivers make plays? The only time Perriman scored touchdowns was when Flacco was at quarterback.
Okay.
The only time all year. That tells me something. If you can't throw for 200 yards in the NFL, I mean, come on. You know what I mean? What you can't even say that you had a quarterback playing if your quarterback doesn't throw for at least 200 yards.
So basically, if this coach from Oceanside demands that Darnold stays there.
Let me put up the stat. Let me put up his face.
Yeah. So basically, if this coach that everyone's seeing, right, from Oceanside demands that Darnold stays, are you going to take him out into the parking lot at Carvel across Grand Avenue and try to fight him?
Funny. I already said.
I go down the stairs to St. Luke's.
Yeah, St. Luke's, yeah.
Yeah.
I already said, in the pairing of Douglas and Saleh, I trust. And Saleh, I trust. So I'm going to let them ride until I have a reason not to.
Well, I think that with Tannehill's resurgence, and you guys know how I feel about that, I still don't think Tannehill's that good. But
better than he was before.
Yes, but
better than he was before, hands down.
He's better than he was before, system-wise, for sure. So he is able to throw a lot of play action because his run game is so good. And with that said, as much as all the other things that you said about the Shanahan systems, it's a play action big system. Like a lot of screens off of play action, a lot of downfield throws off of play action. Shanahan did a great job with making George Kittle into a household name with the system that they run there. I never heard of George Kittle in college or anything like that. And now he's one of the best tight ends in the league. He's a weapon. And I think that the Shanahan system could benefit Darnold a lot because of all the play action. So I think that you can definitely see a Tannehill type of resurgence with Darnold because of this coaching change.
Well, think about Garoppolo too. Right now we're thinking about contracts. Goff, Garoppolo, there's a lot of similarities there too. Take him to the Super Bowl, sign the contract. Now you're trying to get out of it. So if we can get consistency out of this dude, okay. He's 30th right now. Where's the ceiling? 15th? Average? Is that what we're shooting for? That's where are you going to hop him into the top 10 or top 5 in the league at quarterback play from 30th? Is coaching going to do all of that? That's my question. That's my question. If he was 15th right now, right, and you're going to go 15th to 5, maybe that's a leap I can expect to do.
From the beginning of this season for this show, I've been just talking about the significance of coaching. I'll put it to you this way. I think Darnold would have a lot more success in a Shanahan-style offense than he would in, say, of course, a Gase offense or even a Bruce Arians offense. He's not built for a Bruce Arians type of offense, but I think he's built more for a Shanahan or an Arthur Smith type of an offense. What we need to establish here and recognize is that Darnold, even though he was picked third, he's probably, at best, a good game manager when he's coached up and put in a position where he's got some weapons around him and in a good system. And then listen, if you're accurate and you're a good game manager, then let's go. You know what I'm saying? But ultimately, I do want to rid myself of Darnold respectfully And like I keep saying, I want Zach Wilson. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Well, Gase threw a lot of routes out there that were like 2-man routes, or like play actions where there was only one guy to throw the ball to. So you think about that part of it. Like I think whatever they're going to bring to the table, especially if you looked at what Matt LaFleur has done at Green Bay, that's another one too. Like Aaron Rodgers is a quarterback that can bring out the best in people and make receivers that you didn't think were the greatest in the world look better. Like the guy Lazard the other night, last night, tore it up. So
the fact that he couldn't advance because of what's that coach's name that's in Dallas now?
Mike McCarthy, who looks like a terrible hire.
Exactly. Brought him down. But now we have a new coach in LaFleur who's bringing him up. He's going to be the MVP of the league.
Wait. Are you talking about coaching up Aaron Rodgers? Is that really what we're talking about here?
Everybody needs a coach in the NFL.
In comparison to the quarterback we have? Is this the same discussion? I feel like I'm in. What?
I am talking about the importance of coaching.
Okay.
That's how I prefaced it. The importance of coaching. And when you don't have a good coach, it can bring you down. When you do have a good coach, it can bring you way up. And I was using that as an example.
And to defend Brandon, Brian, I would say too, like, when you're Mike McCarthy, I think he skidded by for a long time with a much bigger margin for error because of Aaron Rodgers. Like Aaron Rodgers made it so that he looked good in a lot of ways.
Sure.
So what I think, and I don't want to put words in Brandon's mouth, but what I think he's saying is that the Matt LaFleur change in Green Bay is more that, like that the thing to take you over the top. I mean, they're playing in an NFC championship at home next week. So they have taken it over the top now. So, at least as of the last few years, I think that.
So listen,
I think that's part of it.
This is where you're losing me though. Mike McCarthy, Super Bowl winning coach, and also they went to a lot of NFC championship games in between, the time he got fired and the time they won the Super Bowl. He just didn't win it. So it's not like they were trash and they were 5-11 team. They were in the hunt most years. They just couldn't get over the hump. And I'm not saying that LaFleur is not potentially going to get them there. He hasn't yet. So let's let's give him the flowers when he gets there and achieves that accomplishment. But listen, last year was a disappointment for them. They did they go to the championship? They definitely didn't. No. They right. I mean, so and which was so right. So and there was a supposed rift between him and LaFleur at the end of the season because of where they were, because they didn't win. So 13-3 all sounds good. It's all a memory if you don't win the whole darn thing. So let's get him there first, right? And let you win the thing, and then we talk about how good you are. But
I hear you. But last year, I mean, he's playing better this year, and he
didn't play that well last year. Aaron Rodgers personally,
most probably going to win the MVP. So we weren't talking MVP with Aaron Rodgers last year.
No.
So it is making a difference.
Well, he was the coach last year too. And
that's what I'm saying.
Right. Well, hey man, we could talk about the monikers first year and all of those other things. But before we put him, in a place where we're talking down the coach that was prior that won a Super Bowl and brought them to the same place that this guy has brought them to, I'm just not ready to get there yet. If they win the Super Bowl, let's talk about it.
Did you see the job that Mike McCarthy did this year in Dallas?
Did you see the quarterback that he was rocking with? Not the expectation. I mean, and listen.
It was bad before that.
He was bad before that.
He lost. How many games did they play with him?
They were losing with the starting quarterback before he got hurt anyway.
I'm not. So
he was putting up a lot of numbers, but they were still losing.
This is true, and their defense was horrible. and they fired the guy at
Yeah,
the end
he's
of
the
the
head
season.
coach.
And they fired the
He's
guy
the
at the
head
end of the season. I mean, yeah, absolutely. And listen, I'm not trying to defend Mike McCarthy like he's my coach or anything like that. But before you talk about LaFleur as an example, I feel like the quarterback conversation between who we have and who they have, and the slight differences that you can make in order to turn somebody into a 13-3 when you already have Aaron Rodgers, a Hall of Fame quarterback at your disposal. How is that even part of this conversation when we're talking about Darnold? That's where I'm losing.
It's not
because you're talking about Darnold, and I'm talking about the effectiveness of coaching.
Okay.
So you're talking about.
But you brought Aaron Rodgers into the conversation. It wasn't just the coach.
You're talking about oranges. I'm talking about apples.
But you talked about Aaron Rodgers. You didn't say, the defense and Green Bay and this and that. You said Aaron Rodgers and the resurgence that he's had, and old LaFleur, and the prior coach and this coach. You didn't just talk. You talked about the quarterback. No.
Yeah, I'm talking about the quarterback. I'm talking about what the coach has done for the quarterback and how much coaching means. I mean, coaching doesn't mean anything to quarterbacks. Of course it does. It means something for the whole team, of course. Mm-hmm. But I mean, they were still winning when Green Bay went through a nice little session of having terrible defense. And they were able to overcome that with the play of Aaron Rodgers and this entire offense. Because remember, their running back made the Pro Bowl. Their offensive line played extremely well. And then you had a bunch of no-name receivers outside of Devontae Adams playing really well for Rodgers. It's all, these guys have been coached up. They're being put in the best positions to succeed. I just think that, for me, coaching is big, and it plays more than people really give it value for. That is my position. You know what I'm saying? That's just what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Anyway,
in general,
so
sure.
He's like, okay.
In general, I agree with that. Yeah, okay.
All right. So listen, we're gonna move on. Last thing here. What kind of identity? Since we're talking about coaching, right? We're talking coaching. So, what kind of identity do we want the Jets to have with Saleh as the new head coach? He's a defensive-minded coach, and will we be seeing a can't wait? Remember that whole thing, can't wait with Bart Scott? A can't wait tough guy mentality we saw 10 years ago to the day, actually, when Bart Scott did so famously. So what do you guys think we're going to see here?
We talked about a pre-show how this is the anniversary of the can't wait game, which I'm sure you guys have your own stories about what the place where you were and what you did. I'm getting a little feedback. I don't know what you guys.
Yeah, me too.
So with the can't wait game, when we were on our way to the AFC Championship after we beat New England 28-21, I happened to be at that game. It was one of my favorite Jets experiences ever, being in New England and watching the Jets beat them.
That had to be awesome.
Saw the interview until the next day with Bart Scott. But Bart Scott's famous to Sal Palantonio after he ripped Tom Jackson and Keyshawn and everybody who picked New England to win the game. They said, "We'll see you in Pittsburgh next week," and he says, "Can't wait." I would say that was probably the height of my optimism in the last 10 years when it comes to the Jets. And I think that my optimism right now with the new coaching hire might be the highest it's gotten since then. I wonder what you guys think as well, but this, we've broken this down and unpacked this a lot. I think that this is probably the highest my optimism has been, and the hire makes me feel good about where we're going, because I think that Robert Saleh is going to be that in your face, very emotional type of coach that everybody's going to rally behind, much in the way that probably Rex was the last one that we had in that way. I know that Brandon really liked Rex for those qualities when he was a coach. I kind of think that we're heading in that direction, and that the future's bright right now.
You know, what I would say is it's somewhat reminiscent. It's funny that you should bring up Bart Scott. I remember when Rex first got the job and going through the first free agency, and they were talking about trying to take some players away from the Ravens and stuff because they were just Rex's guys, and then he sat outside of Bart Scott's house like hours before free agency happened, and as soon as they could go, he was like knocking on his front door. I just remember that story, right? So it's funny that 10 years from the Can't Wait segment and Bart Scott was that person, but Rex.
Funny, this is the first time I'm hearing this.
The first time you're hearing that? Yeah. I remember that, right? Because we were talking about free agency, and Bart Scott was his first call. He was like outside in the car, and I think I remember Bart Scott kind of going through the story and talking about it, and maybe he had some Rottweilers or something, so it was like funny. He rang the doorbell and the dogs was barking, and kind of the whole thing. So that's one of the things I remember about the transition from Rex kind of coming in, and it kind of feels a little reminiscent of that when we're talking about players coming from San Fran that potentially want to follow Saleh to New York. The connection that he has with the players, just being a player type of coach and having, just that connection where people want to gravitate towards you, want to play for you, all of those things, I think is, I feel good about where we are right now. And I feel like we're finally a competent organization in that the decisions that they're making, don't they kind of align with, what we would think about and what we would want them to do for the first time in a long time, right?
Yeah, like it makes you want to have, like, I don't know, $3 billion in your pocket, and we can go there and try to access this team. You know what I mean? Us four, right? Because it's like, this is how we would approach things. You know what I mean?
Right. Like Douglas hire. We agree with that. Should have been before the season started and all the money and free agency and all of that stuff was spent. But, it is what it is. Then you're talking about now when you have, Robert Saleh coming in, being the number one candidate on my list, top 5 candidate on everybody else's list. It wasn't somebody that you dredged up from, being fired at your last job. In most industries that doesn't happen, right? You don't get fired from your last job. You're like, hey man, you're on the top of the list for somebody else's job. Like, it doesn't happen that way, right?
You know what, Brian? If we were the owners, if like the BKBK Financial Group were the owners of the Jets, and give me the GM's name before Douglas again. I don't know why I can't remember.
Maccagnan.
We would send you in there to fire him, as long as you guys send me in to fire Gaze. We would just rotate.
Oh yeah,
we rotate.
Yeah, we can divide and conquer. I have no problem closing the door and having that closed door conversation with no problem at all.
Since Kyle is in Seattle, we would send Kyle in to fire the guy who was the GM before Maccagnan.
Idzik.
Yeah, Idzik.
I actually don't think I would have to drive more than 5 minutes to do that. I think he lives near me.
Wow, that's funny.
But it's funny that you say this too, Brian. The thought process behind building culture and a legacy and stuff like that is that we want Joe Douglas to be here beyond that 5 years that he has left on his contract.
Yep.
We want to re-sign him, and we want him to be building our franchise for years and years if he's doing a great job. And just this week in Seattle, John Schneider, who's the GM for the Seahawks, he was a free agent. And a lot of people wanted his services, but the Seahawks wrapped him up, and now he's re-signed for another bunch of years. So when you look at it, like, success begets success when you have the right people in the places that they need to be. So, I really hope that this is a legacy hire, and not just Saleh, but also with Douglas, that we could be talking about this combination for years and years to come. So
I want those two guys to drink some of that Ozzie Newsome juice, and like, you retire. You don't get fired. You retire. You know what I mean? You just bank up, you make your money, you put out a great product, and you win some Super Bowls, and you create a legacy, things that people can just remember where they were when they won this game and that game and the Super Bowl, and just, wearing all sorts of paraphernalia and just growing up, just loving and breathing out green and white because of what they did and the job that they, did and will continue to do. So I really hope that this is the start of that. And I want them, like I said, drink that Ozzie Newsome juice and retire when you want to retire, because that guy, he needs to make it to the Hall of Fame, not just as a great tight end, but then again, as a general manager. He did a great job.
Mm-hmm. And it's not like things were rosy before he started that either. They had to move cities and change their name to restart on that one. So, it's like, what a legacy he's created. And you're right, Brandon, it's the blueprint, for how you run an organization. Pittsburgh, Seattle, Baltimore, to name a few, like those, that's the way you do it. And I hope that we could be mentioned, New England, unfortunately. So I hope that we could be mentioned in that. And I hope that we can be talking about agreeing Joe Douglas announcing his retirement rather than his
got to get the right quarterback in place for all of that.
Well, what? You're right. No, you're right. I mean, and none of us are going to argue that. I just think that we just have a slightly different philosophical approach, when it comes to, certain matters. But we're all on the same page, man. I mean, ultimately, please, none of us would be having these conversations if we had Trevor. So whatever. But listen, guys, girls, everybody, fans, Team BKBK, we're going to start to transition out of this. This is another great show, great discussion about the New York Jets. Thanks for watching the BKBK podcast. We want to be able to keep bringing you the latest news and viewpoints of where sports and the culture collide and the New York Jets reign supreme. So keep watching. You can find us on Facebook on our BKBK podcast fan page. You can find us on Twitter at BKBK podcast, on Instagram at BKBK podcast, as well as on YouTube. When you go to YouTube, just type us in, BKBK podcast. Make sure you hit the like, hit the subscribe button, share us all over the place. Let us go viral for once. Gee whiz, come on. You know what I mean? Help us out over here, And then, and if you can't watch us, you can listen to us, all right? If you want to listen to us, go to bkbkpodcast.podomatic.com, all right? So that's it. Let's go Jets. Let's go Baldwin Bruins. And let's go Team BKBK. And let's go Long Island, all right, Saleh? Yeah, Kyle, bring it up. Baldwin Bruins. There we go.
Long Island.
Long Island via Michigan, but you look like a Long Islander.